All right, so today we're going someplace a little different for our deep dive.
Yeah, a little off the beaten path, you could say.
So we're looking at organized living, time management, that sort of thing.
Achieving goals.
But here's the catch. Are you ready? It's a guide written in Pashto.
Wow. I mean, this is a really cool chance to see how other cultures think about this stuff, you know? Like we always talk about productivity and goals and all, but what does it look like from a completely different perspective?
Yeah, and right out of the gate, this guide hits you with a pretty powerful metaphor. It compares a disorganized life to a journey with no destination.
Ooh, I like that.
You know, all that wasted time and energy, it's like you're just wandering around aimlessly.
You ever feel like that? Like you're just spinning your wheels,
Yeah.
going nowhere.
Oh.
That's exactly the feeling this guide is talking about.
It's saying that without clear goals and a system to manage your time, you're basically setting off on a trip without a map.
Yeah, you're going to get lost.
So the first part of this guide is all about managing the present moment.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, it starts with goal setting, but it goes deeper than that.
Deeper.
It's not enough to just have some vague idea of what you want to do.
Right.
This guide says you got to analyze your present reality.
What does that even mean?
It means figuring out where you are right now, what's working, what's not,
Okay.
and most importantly, where are you wasting time?
Oh, those sneaky time sinks.
It's like taking inventory before a big trip. You wouldn't just hop in the car without checking your supplies, you know, making sure you've got enough gas.
Right, making sure the tires are good.
Exactly. So the guide suggests tracking your activities for a while, like a time audit.
Oh, a time audit. Interesting.
Yeah. You might be surprised by how much time you're spending on things that aren't actually helping you reach your goals.
That is scary, actually.
Okay, so let's say you've done your time audit and you've got a better idea of where your time's going, what's next.
Yeah, where we go from there?
Well, then the guide gets into some more familiar stuff like prioritizing and daily planning.
Okay.
But it's not just about checking things off a list.
Right. It's got to be more than that.
It's about making sure those tasks are actually helping you achieve your goals.
So, everything you do should be moving you closer to where you want to be.
Exactly. The guide suggests using your goals as a filter for making decisions.
A filter.
So when you're faced with a task, you ask yourself, does this help me reach my goals?
I like that.
If not, can you delegate it or even get rid of it completely?
Be ruthless.
Be ruthless, yeah. And then there's the daily planning piece.
Oh.
I'll admit my relationship with to-do lists is complicated.
Yeah, mine too?
Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they just stress me out.
Me too.
But what does this guide say about creating a daily plan?
Well, it says keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't try to cram a million things into one day and be flexible.
Flexible.
Yeah, things change, stuff happens. You got to be able to roll with it.
Makes sense. It also talks about scheduling time for rest and recovery.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, we often forget about that in our quest to be super productive.
Yeah, we burn out.
But before we move on, I gotta ask about the Pomodoro technique.
Ah, yes, the Pomodoro technique.
It pops up in the guide, but it doesn't really dwell on it.
So it's not like the be-all and end-all solution.
No, it's presented as one tool among many.
Got it.
It suggests it might work better for some people or some tasks than others.
Okay.
The guide also mentions the Eisenhower matrix.
Ah, the urgent versus important thing.
Exactly. That's where things get interesting.
How so?
The guide presents this matrix as a way to align your actions with your values.
Oh, I like that.
It's not just about getting things done, it's about making sure you're doing the things that actually matter to you.
So it's like a values-based decision-making framework.
Exactly, and it encourages you to go deeper than just labeling tasks as urgent or important.
Deeper.
Yeah. It asks, does this task line up with my long-term goals? Does it reflect my priorities?
Okay.
So we've got understanding your present reality, setting goals that guide your actions, creating realistic daily plans, and using tools like the Pomodoro and Eisenhower matrix strategically.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a good foundation.
Yeah. So what stood out to you so far?
Well, for me, the time audit thing that really hit home.
Yeah, me too. It's a little scary, but also kind of exciting. You know,
Yeah.
What if we could actually see where all our time is going?
It could be life-changing.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered the present, but this Pashto guide doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
It dives headfirst into the future, and we're going to explore that right after this break. So we've got the present handled, but this guide is like, all right, now let's talk about the future.
Time to break out the crystal ball.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
It's more about consciously shaping our tomorrow.
Oh, the sound of that.
It starts with defining your vision.
Not just setting goals.
Right. It's bigger than that. It's about painting a picture of your ideal future.
Okay, so where do we start?
It encourages some serious soul-searching, asking questions like, what really matters to you? What impact do you want to make on the world?
What does success look like for you personally?
Exactly. It's about figuring out your values, your priorities, not just following what society tells you to do.
Got it. So once you have that vision, that clear picture of where you want to go, what's next?
So then the guide says, let's talk goals, but not just any goals, smart goals.
SMART goals.
Right.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Yeah, no more vague stuff like I want to be happy or I want to be successful.
You gotta get concrete.
Exactly. And the guide gives some cool examples like if your vision involves career growth,
Okay.
a SMART goal might be something like, I want to earn a project management certification within the next 6 months.
I see, that's way more actionable.
Right, and that time-bound element that creates a sense of urgency.
It's not just floating out there in the ether.
But the guide doesn't stop there. It says, okay, you've got your SMART goals now, let's make a plan.
The plan of attack.
You could say that it's about breaking down those big goals into smaller steps.
Creating a roadmap.
Exactly, and thinking about potential obstacles and how you'll overcome them.
So it's not just about being optimistic, it's about being prepared.
Right, life throws curveballs. You got to be ready for them.
But what happens when things change? Life is unpredictable.
That's where the last piece comes in, reviewing and adapting your plan.
So it's not set in stone.
No, the guide emphasizes flexibility, and it's a living document.
Okay.
It's about regularly checking in with yourself, seeing how you're doing, and making adjustments as needed.
So we've gone from the present to the future, from managing our time to defining our vision and making a plan to get there.
It's a holistic approach.
But there's one more piece to this puzzle. The guide talks about preventing disorganization.
Oh, sounds like we're about to get real.
This is where we face those everyday challenges.
The habits and mindsets that can sabotage our best efforts.
And we all have them, those little gremlins that hold us back.
But before we go there, I'm curious what's resonating with you from all this future planning talk.
Well, the SMART goals thing, that's a classic, but I always need a reminder to actually make them specific and time-bound.
Yeah, me too. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture and forget about those concrete steps.
Okay, so let's talk about those disorganization gremlins. What does the guide say about tackling them? So we've talked about managing the present and planning for the future, but now this Pashto guide gets down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you've got your plan, but how do you actually make it happen in real life?
Because life can be messy.
Life is messy.
And this guide doesn't shy away from that. It acknowledges those everyday challenges.
The things that can trip us up, even with the best intentions.
So it all starts with this deceptively simple idea, being organized.
Organization. The bane of my existence.
I'll admit, I'm not always the most organized person either.
Me neither.
But I have noticed that when I do tidy up my workspace, my mind feels clearer.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's definitely a connection between our physical space and our mental state.
This guide emphasizes creating a space that supports your goals.
What does that look like?
It could be a clutter-free desk, a well-organized calendar, a system for managing your to-do list.
So it's about setting yourself up for success.
Exactly. But sometimes the biggest obstacle to organization isn't our stuff, it's our own brains.
Oh, tell me about it.
Enter procrastination.
Ugh, the master of disguise.
This guide acknowledges that procrastination is a real struggle.
We've all been there.
But it doesn't just offer those generic tips like just do it or stop being lazy.
Thank goodness.
It goes deeper. It explores the psychology behind procrastination, the reasons why we avoid certain tasks.
So it's about understanding the root of the problem.
Exactly. Sometimes it's fear of failure, sometimes it's perfectionism, sometimes it's just feeling overwhelmed.
So many reasons to procrastinate.
The key is to figure out what your personal triggers are and develop strategies to overcome them.
So if you're afraid of failing, maybe you break the task down into smaller steps.
Or you find someone who believes in you to support you.
And if perfectionism is the issue, maybe it's about setting realistic expectations or focusing on progress over perfection.
This guide emphasizes that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
It's about finding what works for you.
And here's a tip that might surprise you. The guide also talks about learning to say no.
Wait, say no. How does that help with organization?
It might seem counterintuitive, But it's about setting boundaries and protecting your time and energy.
Oh, I see. It's about prioritizing your own goals.
Exactly. Recognizing that you can't do it all, and it's okay to decline requests that don't align with your priorities.
So it's not selfish, it's strategic.
Right. It's about making sure you're saying yes to the things that truly matter.
That's powerful.
And it's a skill that takes practice, especially if you're a people pleaser.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with that.
But the guide reminds us that saying no to some things allows us to say a more wholehearted yes to the things that are most important to us.
I love that.
So we've come full circle from managing the present to planning for the future, and finally to creating a life that supports our goals and values.
It's amazing how these insights from a Pashto guide can resonate with us no matter where we're from.
It's a reminder that at the end of the day, we all share the same basic aspirations.
We all want to make the most of our time and live a fulfilling life.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm wondering, what if the real key to organized living isn't about mastering complex systems, but about understanding ourselves better?
Knowing our strengths and weaknesses, our values and priorities, and building a life that reflects who we truly are.
That's a journey worth taking.
One step at a time.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration. We hope it sparked some new ideas and inspired you to take action.
Until next time, keep diving deep.